So welcome to Top 3 Book Workshop Open House. This is an idea that I had because, just to be frank with you, I don't. Mike's gonna laugh at me about this, but I don't like sales. I don't like marketing. It's not fun for me, and because I don't like it when you do a webinar and then you do some sort of pitch at the end, and it seems strange to me. Just seems odd. And I thought about when I went to a Montessori school when I was in elementary school and also junior high. And we always had to do this open house every year. We had to get dressed up and go to the school at night, which was super exciting to go to school at night. And then I have to stand next to my work, my projects, my art projects, my other things, and tell people about the school. And I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to tell people about workshop who are genuinely interested in it. And let's hear from some of the students. And I asked some of my students to get dressed up and come at night and show their work. And I see that they are here, which is really amazing. And I'm so grateful. So really quick, I want to just do a little introduction about Top 3 Book Workshop. This is for authors and aspiring authors who want to write a truly game-changing book. So not a Better Business card, but a must read, a book that people treasure, keep forever, and then really importantly, tell everyone you've got to read this. So this is a workshop for people who don't just want to write any book, they want to craft a must read, and also they're interested in authorship, meaning what does it take to be an author? What is the business of authorship? How do you really pull off that big dream? And I created the workshop after 10 years as a ghostwriter. And I wanted to teach people how to do what I did for my clients, for thought leaders, for newbies, and everyone in between. And because honestly, I really want better books in the world. Can we just write better books? And I feel that if people can write a better book, they have a chance at getting what they want from being an author. So I want to just also briefly explain to you, you'll have how the night will go. I've got some of my students who are going to share a little bit about the experience. You'll have a chance to ask questions. Laura's going to give you what we're calling a campus tour of what it's like to be in workshop. Laura, I want to introduce you as my Dean of Students and our very own Dallas, Texas cheerleader. She keeps everybody on track and motivated, and she's an integral part of our community. And then we're going to do a Q&A at the end where I'm going to be talking about, what's up with publishing, what's next in the coming year. Publishing has had a lot of turbulent experiences, just like everybody else, related to the pandemic, but even before that. If anybody has questions around publishing and what's happening, you'll have a chance to ask me at that time. So before we get into meeting one of our students, I want to first say, why do I call this a workshop? It's because we're doing all of this together. This is not a self-directed course. It's 14 weeks in community. And we do all of the classes together. We meet every day for writing sprints to write together. We do one-on-ones with me so that you can actually get some feedback on your progress. It's very hands-on. And then we also do live edits together for those who want to do it. And we are very focused on nurturing and creating community. So there are a lot of students here who are part of that community. And it's important that I share just a little bit about why that matters, because first of all, figuring out if your work is any good, that's not something that you can do on your own. It requires feedback and support, and you get that from me and also from fellow students, although I do have a rule about feedback. It's only positive from students. And also because writing is super lonely and staying the course is really hard. And so we need community in order to keep moving and realize our dreams of authorship. A few different things about this workshop that you might not see in other places. I am your developmental editor for the duration. So I give you feedback through the whole process, including on actually written chapters. You can audit and keep doing this class and writing sprints as long as you need to. I have students who have finished their book in the course of the workshop and others who have come back and audited here and there as they work to complete it. the class always stays open to you, and you'll often see alums in class with new students, which is actually really helpful for perspective. It's really like gaining admission to a collective. We learn from each other's experiences and support each other's book launches. It's an extremely positive, non-competitive environment. And I'm really proud that my students come in wanting to write a book. And a lot of them come out identifying as authors. And it's not a coincidence that they start writing their second book soon after, which of course leads me to introduce Casey Compton, who is one of our recent alums. And Casey was part of the fall cohort last year. And I asked Casey to come and talk about how to make the most of this course. But first, let me shout out Casey, who has a book coming out that just became available for pre-order today. So Laura, if you can put the link in the chat for that book. Tell everybody the title of that book and who it's for.
Hey, everybody. The title of my book is Fix This Next for Healthcare Providers. And obviously, it is for healthcare providers who are really struggling with identifying what needs to be fixed in their business, and more importantly, what needs to be fixed first.
Awesome. And it's available for pre-order now. Laura's going to pull that up for you. But you're not, you discovered something in class. You discovered your author voice is what I would say. I'm always would compare you to the Fannie Flagg of business authorship. And you started almost right away writing a second book. So can you share just a little bit about what changed for you when you came in for wanting to do one book and now you have a plan for many books?
Yeah, I had, I came in knowing that I wanted to write many books, but I, like a lot of people, I think I just lacked that confidence. Like we all, is this even good? Like, does anyone want to read this? Can someone who failed college English write a book?
Really?
Twice. Really? I failed it twice. Yes. Yes.
You should mail that. You should remember the teacher's name. You should send that professor a copy of your book.
I know. Yeah, I thought about that. It'd be funny. Yeah. But so, I knew that whenever I was going to write the derivative of McAllitz's book, I just thought, I've got to do this right. And I need to sign up for this workshop, because since I knew I wanted to write more books, not that that was the reason, because I would have done it well with the first book, but I just wanted to make sure that I was able to take in as much learning. I wanted to get learned as much as I could. So that's why I did it. And the voice just kind of came. I think I wrote the whole entire book, the first draft, in 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. And after about week 2, I remember just like, I think there's something about where we do the daily writing. It just mm-hmm. stays right here, and you mm-hmm. can't get rid of it no matter what you do. And I just remember just like feeling in this fog for a couple of weeks, and I was like, what is wrong with me? I can't pinpoint what this is. And I'm like emotional, and I don't get emotional, and I'm not pregnant, so I know that's not it. And then I remember I talked to you that day. I remember sitting right in the middle of the bed with my computer, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And you said you found your voice. Like, this is what you are going to do. And I was like, oh, mm-hmm. okay, that makes a little more sense now. And then from there, it just kept getting easier.
You did find your voice. You are so on your way. Absolutely. Can you give just some thoughts about, how I always tell people, some people take a couple years to write their book and workshop, and some people are like Casey Compton, who finished their whole book and got feedback on their whole manuscript from me during that 14 weeks. And we accept people wherever they are in the process. We accept people who are just thinking about writing a book, and people who have even finished a manuscript. We have a number of people in the current cohort, like for example, Susie DeVille is here, who wrote a whole manuscript before starting to come into class. So I'm just curious if you can share, what you think was helpful for you to be able to meet that goal of finishing the draft.
A couple things. um, I'm a little cheap and I'm very strategic. So I knew that going into this, I did not want to have to hire a full on developmental editor. And so I had to stay one step ahead so I could keep sending you my chapters and sneaking them in as often as I possibly could. So that was actually strategy. I even carved out the time during those 5 weeks to just try to clear out as much other things as I had going on, specifically for that reason. Um, but one thing I had to do early on in the workshop, it is, I mean, I was overwhelmed, like I don't get overwhelmed very easily, but it was just a lot of information and I had a lot of ideas and I had to learn a lot and didn't even know how to use Microsoft Word. So there was just a lot. And I think what I had to do early on was just commit to kind of lower my own expectations a little bit and then just commit to showing up. And so that's what I tried to do. I just tried to show up for every class, every writing sprint, minus the 6 a.m. ones. And then everything else I could possibly, all of the live edits, everything I could possibly get to. And it works, definitely works.
How do you feel now? Because what I love is that both Mike C is here too, and both of you just announced you were doing your second book and ran ideas into we have a private Facebook group for the community, put those ideas in there, didn't even tell me you guys were doing that stuff. And I love that. I love that I don't know, but I'm curious about how did you feel more confident going into that second book?
Oh, listen, it is on for the second book. I'm so excited. I feel like all of the stuff was slowing me down in the first go around just because I was learning is still kind of it's not there anymore. Not that I'm not learning, because I've still got a lot to learn, but a lot of those things is just kind of sitting over to the side and have a lot more confidence. And I don't know about other people, but at least for me, once you kind of know what you're doing, and then you just don't really care what other people think in that way, and you're just like, this is what I want to do, and um, it just opens everything up. It's such an amazing thing. It's hard to explain.
So thank you for making time. I know you're super busy and you have a young family, and it means a lot to me that you would be here for open house. But I just wonder if there was one critical thing that you think students need in order to make the most of workshop, what would it be? Would it be the showing up factor?
Hmm. Yeah, and also relationships. I learned this the hard way back when I started my first business. I used to be very solo minded, like I'll just do it myself, I'll figure it out on my own. And I realized that there's so much um, weight and there's so much importance in just building relationships with other people. And that was the best thing for me. I mean, Mara has been amazing, and any ideas that I have, and Cindy, they're just wonderful people. And I learned, like I said, in that first business, that you're investing in knowledge, of course, but you're also investing in relationships, and you can't really put a price on that.
Thank you, Casey. I appreciate you so much. And if anyone has a question for Casey, please put it in the chat. And I'm glad that you gave us a natural segue to talk about community with Mike Ciavellino. Hi, Mike. I wanted to
Hi,
bring.
AJ. Hi, everyone.
Hi. You also have a lot going on, so thank you for making time. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So Mike was part of were you in the winter cohort last year, right?
Yeah, winter 1970. Oh, yeah, no, it was winter last year, 2020.
And right in the middle of our class is when we all had to hunker down and deal with the pandemic, the start of one. And I think a lot of the community was fortified actually by that experience. And it's part of the reason that we decided to keep writing sprints going all year round, even outside of class, just to be there as a touchstone for people who were really needing it. And I wanted you to talk a little bit, if you could, about what the Top 3 Book Workshop community is like, what it feels like, but also how it helps you in your author goals.
Yeah. So thanks, AJ. Hi, everyone. So I came into this from a marketing background. The only thing I had written were blogs. I knew I had wanted to write a book. I had always wanted to write one, but just didn't have the confidence to really do that. I finally got an email from AJ in the fall of or the winter of 2019 saying, are you going to write a book or not, basically? So I said yes, and I joined the cohort, and the first couple of weeks were like, yeah, let's write the book, we're in. And then I let the trolls, what we call in class trolls, sort of get the best of me, alluding to what Casey was saying. What I'm writing isn't any good. It's all been said before. No one wants to hear what I have to say. But being in class, being with this community of people, these A players who are all doing the same thing you are. They're making the same mistakes in their manuscripts. They're stuck on chapters and teaching points as well. They're not sure what to do next, but the fact that we all show up together, that we all sort of fail and triumph together is what pulls you through. It pulled me through. It certainly helped with the pandemic. I don't know what I would have done without all of these wonderful people. But it made me not only want to write this book, I know now that I'm a career author just from being part of this group. And I would never not write a book without top 3.
Career author, man. I never thought so many of my students would do that, but they are. That is, I have goosebumps up and down my arms because I could have never hoped for that. I managed my own expectations around that. Let me just get these people a good book. Let me just get these people a good book. But as it turns out, they're authors now, like real authors, capital A authors. I just can't even tell you what that means to me, Mike. How is the community part of your daily life now?
So sprints are every day. In fact, I told you my cohort was winter 2020. So January, February, March of 2020. Or through April, I guess it was, we graduated. It is what is it now? It's March 2021, April. You can't get rid of me. I'm still here. I went to a class today.
You did come to class today.
It was on introductions and closing. And I'm working, I could go back and massage that on book 1. Let me sit in. We had what we call a sprint marathon a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. I wrote a whole bunch of words on my new book. That wouldn't have happened without this.
Yeah.
So I am connected to, it's like another arm. I couldn't not be part of this community.
I love that. And what do what advice would you give students about that might be coming in about how to become part of the community? My perception is everybody is very, very welcoming. We set very specific ground rules about not giving each other criticism, not competing, always showing support, keeping politics out of things, making everybody feel welcome. And I think that's created an environment where you can become part of the community easily. But what advice would you give a student who's entering the community for the first time? Because you guys are tight, and but every new cohort comes in and adds to that. It's funny. There's no clicks.
Yes.
There's 0 clicks.
No, there's no bad kids that hang out behind workshop and smoke. We're all sort of in this together. Here's what I would say to new people coming in, and I can't stress this enough. The only thing you should judge yourself on is how many times you show up to class in sprints. Like make a notch on a piece of paper or make some notation on your phone. Just show up to class in sprints. Do not judge the work you're producing. It's almost like when you first join, it's like you're driving in a car, right? In a thick fog, and you can only see a few feet in front of you. So you just need to focus on that little bit of space in front of you. And I feel like that's what this was like for me as a new writer, as a new author, that just stay with it and you'll get there. And everyone in this community will pull you through.
I've seen you guys do that for each other, and it's beautiful. I love to see the way you support each other. And the alums have their own writing sprint group, and they're just, everybody is supportive and helpful in really beautiful ways. And Mike, before I close with you, I would love for you to share the title of your book and who it's for.
Sure. So the title of my book is Super Parent. It's coming out in February. 2022. Casey will be on book 8 by the time that comes out, but that's all right. And it is for parents of special needs children. And the core message of the book is having a special needs child in your life is not a detour. This is the life you were meant to live. You can do this.
Oh, that one still gets me. That one still gets me. So you'll notice also that my students will easily tell you who they write for and core message, and I promise if I ask them, and they can do it unprompted. And they don't start out that way, and it's a process to get to that. But by the end of class, they could do it without looking at anything for sure. And there's a reason for that, because first of all, you want to be able to talk about your book while you're writing it. We shouldn't wait until it's in some magical space to tell people that we're writing a book, and it's important to share that with people in your life. But also because we're writing reader-focused books. We're writing books that are for people, not about something. So we do a lot of work about getting clarity about that. Who are you writing for? That's what you learn to do in workshop. This is not an ordinary book workshop. Everything is driven around my core philosophy, which is putting the reader first. Every single component. And you'll notice when you're in workshop that people have little revelations about reader first over and over and over again, where it starts to sink in, sink in, sink in, and sink in. And so writing a reader-focused book allows you to write something that is truly a must read, because here's the thing, it's the equalizer. So you're worried about, am I talented enough to write this? Just by focusing on the reader, you're going to write a better book than if you didn't. So the strategies and techniques that I teach in class help you to focus on reader, which actually helps you to be a better writer and craft a better book. So we sort of eliminate the talent factor. All of these authors write very different books, but their books are 1,000 times better than they would be if they weren't focused on the reader. And that's what we teach in class. Thank you again, Mike. I want to shift a moment to bring in Mary Tass Rooney. Are you ready, Mary? So Mary, one of the things we do in workshop is something called live edit. And we didn't start out doing it, but we do it now because it is extremely helpful for authors to see how to edit their book see me do it live. I started out, I would record these little videos for folks and send them. And then we decided, let's just do this live. So it's a true workshop. Now, it's not mandatory. It's you get the feedback from me in one-on-ones, whether or not you decide to do live edit. But live edit is twice a week in the last 5 weeks of workshop, where 3 students will get an edit of their chapter and everybody watches and supports that person. And the beauty of that is not just the fact that you're learning and you can apply what I do to one person's chapter to your own chapter. So you take a lot of notes and then go do your own edits. But you also get so much support from authors. One of the things I love is when I see people talking in group, oh my gosh, did you see live edit on Saturday? You have to go watch the recording, because people get really excited about seeing each other's work. So Mary is really doing me a solid right now. And normally that stays within community. So that's a very protected, safe space, but Mary's agreed to let me give you an example of that. To see what that's all about. The only challenge with this, Mary, are you off mute?
Yeah, I am.
The only challenge is we did this already once in live edit, alum live edit, which is, by the way, students who have already graduated still have opportunities to do live edit long after class is over. Mary took advantage of that a few weeks ago. I gave you notes and now you sent me something back for this purpose that I barely have any notes on. So
that's not really a problem. I'm grateful for that.
So I have a question to ask you. Can I show the first one? Just to show?
Oh yeah, by all means. Because everyone on this call should know that my whole book is a result of live edits. Like, I come from a corporate background. I'm really good under a deadline. I need deadlines. If you give me a deadline, something is as good as done. But if I know, because AJ's so gracious, this community is extended for your lifetime. And so I'm like, okay. So these live edits, I'm like, I'm going to set the date. I'm going to submit my name, and they're a hot commodity now. So if you don't sign up early, then you're like toast. So when Laura puts up like, oh, I have a spot, we're all like, put me on the wait list, put me on the wait list. So my whole entire book is a result of live edits. So anytime AJ or Laura's like, oh, live edit, I don't even know if I have something. I'll be like, oh no, sign me up. I'll write something for that. And that's how, but I also come from a culture of, I had a big team that always gave me feedback. I love really soliciting feedback and understanding different perspectives. So to write something in a vacuum was really hard for me. And the other great byproduct of live edits is you hear from other people what resonated and what they got tripped up on. And there were times where I wrote something that people were like, that was powerful. And I thought it was a throwaway line. Like, I was like, really? That line? And I was like, oh, okay. Or there was something that, again, makes sense to me because I come from a corporate world, but they were like, no, that's very jargony. And I was like, okay, that's good to know. Like, so just very, very helpful. So by all means, show the first version and the second version. I'm game.
Okay, thank you. That brings me to just want to share a little something about author, the loneliness of authorship is, usually you're on your own, and maybe you can get your spouse or your best friend to look at something, which I don't advocate, by the way. No, don't do that. Then hopefully you'll get a good editor eventually. But the time between when you start and get a good editor could be a year, could be multiple years. That is super lonely, and you don't know what you're doing. A lot of authors, especially fiction authors, join what are called critique groups, which can literally destroy your soul. I mean, they can destroy your soul. Those critique groups have people who may or may not be qualified giving feedback that may or may not be correct or helpful. And it is definitely an art form to give feedback in a way that doesn't crush somebody's soul and helps them make progress. So just to be clear, our live edit students do not give any constructive feedback at all. And that allows them to build confidence over time and still get somebody to see their work. So you're not sitting in this little cave and you have no idea if it's making sense to anyone. So, and the fact that we have a limited time when we do it in the last 5 weeks of class forces students, sorry, it is intentional, to get their work done on time so that we can actually produce some stuff. And that live edit experience combined with some other things Laura will share with you about writing means that a lot of people produce a lot of content. I see some folks here who have produced a ton of content in class. I'm looking at you, Mara Yale, as well. So I want to show you, so just a few weeks ago on March 22nd, Mary participated in a live edit for her introduction and her close, which in workshop, I call it a call to greatness, not a conclusion. And you learn why in class. And we just happened to talk about it in class today, which was serendipity, not intentional. So what we do is I share screen and then I ask this question. Mary, remind us, who is your reader and what is your core message?
So my book is called Heart Value, and the subtitle is Feel Appreciated in Ways That Matter and Discover Your True Stride. And the book is for individuals who feel deflated, they don't feel valued, or they feel unappreciated, and they want to feel connected to their value again and feel appreciated.
Nice. And your core message?
Oh God. I see Laura saying something. My core message is, I'm blanking, AJ.
It's okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I got stage right.
You usually spit it out, so it's cool. No worries. So what we're doing here is looking at the intro and conclusion, and this is what we did on the 22nd. So what I do is I'll go through it, and students do not see this in advance. This is your only glimpse at a fellow student's work. So you're not downloading everybody else's work, just so that's really clear. So in this introduction,
do you want me to say the core message now? Sorry.
Yeah.
So by the end of this book, you will be able to voice your value and connect with people that appreciate you for who you are and what lights you up.
Okay, I think I'm sharing the wrong thing.
the version.
Give me just a second. Technical challenges. Oh yeah, I was. Okay. So this is the, oh, I totally could have made your life easier because this one had the core message at the top. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, that's all right. So we're looking at the intro and conclusion. So at that event, that live edit, I have notes in the margins, which you can see here. One of the big notes was you talk a lot about adventure in the book, but your reader may not even be thinking about anything as an adventure yet. The introduction is absolutely critical for connecting to readers where they are at the beginning of the journey. And so using a lot of language that doesn't speak to them yet, that comes later in the book, can be off-putting. So one of my notes was it needs reworking and it should be shorter. More emphasis on the value they seek versus heart value. So what we'll do in live edit is talk through this and I'll share it. And then we'll very often do some actual reworking of lines and so forth if needed. So I do all this in advance and then we talk through it during live edit. So here's an example. I had asked you, you're talking about certain things that you haven't explained yet. You shared your own awakening in the intro, but it's also in the rest of the book. So I advised you not to do that. This is the adventures piece. Are they ready to hear this? Was my comment. Is this stuff true? So you actually, and then of course you knew that you had to cut that yellow section, which I confirmed. I suggested you cut a bunch of stuff. So you had a ton to do to fix this. And then also for moving on to this, what you call an epilogue, it had some promotional stuff going on, and it also had new teaching points, which I advise not to do in an epilogue. You want that to be the rally and the next piece. So I shared all of this with you, and I honestly, I was a little nervous at the time because I know you're tough, but I was basically asking you to rewrite the whole thing. I don't know. You were good with it, but you didn't seem daunted.
No, I know it wasn't right. But for me, part of the benefit of this workshop in the class is that it's a safe space to write and see what comes out, and then to get feedback to say, okay, you're on track here, but this is missing, or how do you tie this back to the reader, or you just are introducing a new teaching point in the close that doesn't really make sense. So for me, it's always just been helpful to go, okay, so I know where I was on track, and then I can focus energies on there, and I also know where I'm off track and can either move that to something else or just move it to the cutting floor.
So you did a bang up job on the revamp here. And you open with the same story about Nora, who represents your reader, and you're connecting beautifully. But what I wanted was for you to make the connection, because you've got a reader who is coming in and feels underappreciated and invisible, but you eventually show them that their search for visibility is about actually a need for appreciation, and that journey of trying to find that appreciation will actually open up a whole new world to them. And that was not clear in the intro, and it sure as heck is now. You did such a good job. And I highlighted this to read aloud, which I often do in live edit. I often read aloud because I'm compelled to do so. My natural curiosity for myself and others led me to study value and the role it plays in life and relationships. At first, I used my analytical mind to learn about how to feel more valued, fulfilled, and connected, until I realized that my and your something isn't defined by logic. Your heart intimately already knows you're something. The key is to lead with your heart and trust your feelings to make choices and take action that aligns with your something. Through my own stories and others like Nora, we will explore ways to unlock your heart-centered value to realize more joy, appreciation, and meaningful relationships in your life. Perfection. You made that leap where you are explaining that it's, yes, I'm addressing your concerns, but it's actually something else going on here without getting into it too deeply, because that's the whole book. So I just think you did an expert job in doing that.
Thank you.
The one note I have for you is I'm not sure of the scope of this problem. So the intro is a great place for you to put in kind of who else is dealing, how many people are dealing with this issue. So if you've got statistics, it's the place to put it. Now, the tone of this, I wouldn't dump a bunch of statistics in here because of the tone you have going.
Yeah.
But there's probably a place where you could put something in if you've got it, even if it's anecdotal from your experience.
Okay.
And then what I know you have client work that you're doing and you've got a podcast now and so forth. So do you have any social proof besides your own journey that you could maybe weave in here a little bit? Like so-and-so found their something and so-and-so found their something.
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah. Just something that you can plant the seeds that show this isn't just about your ruminations, but this is work that you do and it works.
And do I call out some characters that are in my book already? Like,
Sure.
you know, you'll hear about Rocky who blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that can work. And you can also make a general statement in my work with clients, you know, this process, something.
Okay.
Also, you can kind of sneakily talk about your work with clients if you need to manage an expectation here. So if you need to say, you know, in my work with clients, this is usually a multi-month process. You know, like if you need to manage expectations about how long it's going to take to get to the promise.
Got it.
So I just want it to be clear that your credentials are beyond the corporate and beyond your personal experience, but that you're actually working with people on this.
Okay.
And you can even say, you know, I hear from True Stride podcast listeners, this is what I most hear from them.
Got it. Yeah.
You know, those are great ways to weave in your credentials without standing there with a sign about your credentials.
Cool.
So those are the two things I would add, but otherwise golden.
Okay. Yay.
And then your call to greatness is, you took me so literally because I talked to you about how your reader is standing at the top of the mountain. Yeah. That's great. I love that you did it. So this is all in an imagined future for your reader, and it's beautiful. It's here. This is so what we teach in class is about having a call to greatness that shows what the reader has, how the reader is different now on this very last page, what they've learned and accomplished, and how the promise from Mary has actually been fulfilled. You've never felt more alive. It's fun. You're grateful that you're something, which now ties to the intro. Love a callback, which you now recognize as your heart value has become a treasured part of your epic adventure. And the reader will know what that is because this is the end of the book. Sure, it's been a wild adventure filled with a lot of twists and turns, but you cherish every expansion experience as an accrual of value. You feel empowered every time you invest in your value vault, and the reader knows what that is. You're reminding them in an effective way without giving them a bulleted list of the summary of everything, which is beautiful. And you love your freedom to choose again as you trust your inner compass to become more of who you were meant to be. Love. I don't have a single note for you on that. I think it is ace. I think you did a beautiful, beautiful job.
Thank you. I could not have gotten there without you, literally.
At this point, you're witnessing the end, honestly, you guys, of a multi-year journey for Mary Rooney, who stuck it out. You just witnessed the end, which is I'm deeply emotional about, actually, because
I am too. It's not over yet, but it's a good.
No, but I mean, just getting the book done is so much, and I just hang on to hope for all of you that it's that it's going to happen. I just keep holding that space, and I'm so incredibly proud of you. Now, if this were a regular live edit, this is where all of the students who would be present would say their feedback for Mary. And so if you have any for her, I ask you to put it in the chat. We would normally do that verbally, but in reference of, in mindful of time, we aren't going to do that. Mary, how do you feel now that you've nailed your call to greatness and you're just about done?
I have goosebumps. It's it's really nice, and I appreciate you. Again, AJ's been very gracious with me on this journey. It is, you know, I've had a lot of fits and starts and times where I didn't understand my voice, and then I had my voice, and then I lost it again. So it's we've had a lot of ups and downs, but she continues to support alumni and say, okay, you know, well, where are you? And she cares enough to say, she's not just holding space for you. She's like, okay, well, what do you have? And so when she offered up this re-edit, because there's no more alumni spots in the next coming live edits. She's like, I have an open house. I was like, yeah, let's see how far I get with this rewrite. So thank you. And it feels great.
I'm excited for you, Mary, and I'm excited for your book to come out. We have a lot of books coming out this year. Thank you, Mary, for showing up and for a workshop, and I appreciate it. We're going to shift gears and do a quick little tour. You ready to go, Ms. Stone?
I am. So first of all, hello, everybody. And I think you're getting an idea for those of you who are maybe new to top 3 in our community, just how tight-knit we become and how we really do cheer each other on. So when you join the workshop, you really are joining a new author family. And we're here to lift each other up. We're here to support each other. I mean, if anything else, you've got some secured pre-orders with the class. So, you know, you're at least going to sell beyond your family. And maybe that one teacher who said if you ever, you know, published a book, they'd buy it. So, you know, you've got that working for you. But I would love to share first of all, what our time commitment is, because this is something that I think is one of the big questions that people have. And I think everybody can see this. So this is for spring, and after I show you this tour, I'm going to put a link so that you can access this yourself. I also have one for the fall, so if the spring isn't the right time for you, perhaps the fall is, and you can see what those dates and all that sort of thing is. We like to get started right away with figuring out who your book is for, and you're getting a taste of that now. And the first few weeks are really meant for you to do a lot of pondering. You're not going to have a massive time commitment right up front because you're just doing a lot of thinking on your own. You'll have class, you'll have weekly one-on-ones with AJ. We talk about publishing so that you can determine what's the best publishing path for you. I think somebody had left me a message wanting to know if this is a course for self-pub or whatever. When you come away from Top 3 Book Workshop, you will know how to self-publish, you will know how to pitch to a traditional publisher, and you'll also know about hybrids and who are the recommended hybrids from us. So it really is a soup to nuts program. You will learn how to build your author platform. This is maybe one of the biggest mysteries and one of the things that people kind of fall down on more than anything else is they don't consider what an author platform is. And AJ will not leave you hanging there, and neither will a community. You'll learn how to build a marketing outline. You'll learn what you really need to do. And more importantly, you'll learn how to do it.
Laura, can I back you up?
Absolutely. Where are we going?
You just, we went past the part where we talk about organizing all your content and then writing a transformational outline.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah. Content inventory.
Yeah. So you can keep going. I just wanted to point that out. The outline is a critical moment. And for students who need help with it, I often do outline sessions that are longer to try and help them nail it. Okay, go forward.
You got it. You bet. Well, outline is such a huge, I mean, your outline can become your table of contents, which becomes your direction, that becomes your compass for how to write the book. So yeah, that's a crucial one. And then we have this big creative week about how to write your first draft. You learn to dispel the myths of how a first draft is written, and you learn it's just math. And that's important because we move into 4 straight weeks where it's a little crazy and where you really get to know your fellow cohort members, because we move into what we call our writing sprints, our Sprintapalooza. For 4 straight weeks, we have the option of, I think it's now 27 opportunities, if you include the alums little secret WhatsApp writing time that they'll send you a sneaky invite to. But we have multiple times throughout the day where you can write in community, you can show up, we hold each other accountable, you can ask AJ and I and the other cohort members questions, and just do the work. We keep track of our word count. We are, I should have written the number down. This last cohort, we wrote a combination of over 250,000 words together in community.
In just the 4 weeks.
In just the first 4 weeks, which is, it's insane, but we get it done. And that's what this time is for. You are not beholden to come every single writing sprint. We give you the opportunity to come when you can. And as Mike had said earlier, just show up. Casey said, just show up, and you can just get so much accomplished. Once we end Sprintapalooza, we get down to the hard, good work of all of the editing. And that's when the live edits start that you just saw. This is when the time commitment is increased, but it's for your benefit. We have multiple opportunities for students to do live edits. We still have training that goes on. So you can see if you come to everything, you're looking at 8.5 hours for that week, but it's, I cannot stress enough, it's time well spent. We talk about how to market your book. So you've learned how to do your marketing outline. Now you're learning how to apply that, how to get that done for yourself. What is realistic? How do you build this information? How do you get it out in the world? Then we talk about your book, how to make it beautiful, how to fine tune everything. And we're still doing live edits during all of this. This is probably one of the more important ones, and people skip it and then they come back to it, and it's probably the most rewatched of all of our sessions, is getting real about the money, getting real about how to leverage this fabulous book that you've just poured blood, sweat, and tears into, and how to turn that into authorship, how to turn this into a career. Then we move into our final week, and we're not there yet with our current cohort. And it's all the fun stuff of your book cover, and most importantly, the call to greatness, which you just got a taste of with Mary Tess. So this is, it's a big time commitment, but if you're going to write a book that changes lives, you've got to put the time in. So I'm going to put those links so that you can have access to this in the—
Yeah, Karen, I see you're asking to slow down. You have access, just giving you a link so you can go look at it at your leisure and explore that. You'll also see a bunch of bonuses that are built in. We have a lot of experts that come and talk to the community, and published authors who talk to the community as well. Laura, can you what is the password for this event? If you can just put it in the chat for—
I can also put a direct link if somebody's struggling to get in. We'll do that really quick.
So I want to be mindful of time. Laura, we have a Facebook group where everybody can connect. We also send emails. So if you aren't a Facebook person, that's fine. And our classes are currently housed on Zippy, but we're moving over to Kajabi. And for those of you who have an interest in that, it's just a place where all the class materials are stored there. We have more than 30 downloadable tools throughout the course that you can use to help write your book, and also with marketing and so forth. And then as soon as the live class is over, within a couple of hours, Laura has the recording up on Zippy, and it will be Kajabi, where you can, if you miss class, you aren't going to be behind because it'll be up right away. So Laura's showing you just a little bit of a preview. We don't need to show the whole piece, but you can see the lessons are there. And if you want to click on one of them, any of the classes, view lesson there, you can see that the recording is there. And if you scroll down, you'll see you've got a summary, and then also different tools that you can download and keep forever. Including the class slides, which I always include for note taking if you need them.
We got you, in other words, and you have access to this for life.
Yes. Well, I mean, unless there's like a zombie apocalypse or something, and when no one, the internet dies, I don't know. I can't promise you then. Just want to manage your expectations. So I want to shift for a moment. And Laura, there were a few questions in the chat. If you can address those, that would be great. And just welcome Indrani Goradia, because she is here to talk. I really wanted to have her come and talk. She was in my beta class and is working on editing her memoir. Can you share with people who you were writing for and what is your message?
Hello, everyone. So happy to see all you wonderful faces. My book is for a reader who has been abused, and whether as a child or as an adult, and wants to move beyond that pain. And I even created a name. I came up with a word, abuse mind. And AJ helped me to understand how to build out what that means. And the message, the core, is that my reader will move beyond the pain and forge a foundation of self-worth and trust that they will step out of cultural prisons, roles, and expectations. This is what I did. And AJ, yesterday I taught a class of pretty much all Asian women, and they were all saying what was in the book. I wished I had the book to say, just read it. I promise you that this will get better. And I didn't have the book. And I was really mad at myself.
Well, you don't be mad at yourself. You're making it better. I mean, that's one of the reasons I wanted you to come, is because I feel that you figured out how to be an incredible, immersive storyteller. I think that you learned how to do that in workshop.
Yeah, so I came to AJ in beta with, AJ calls it a manuscript. I call it a bucket of words. I came with a bucket of words, and we looked at those words, and they were in chapters already, and we moved the stories around. And during the live edits, and by the way, you didn't talk about the live retreat. That is like, hello, I can't believe you didn't talk about that. In live, so I'm just going to go to live retreat. In live retreat, there are about 4 or 5 of us, and we meet for 3 days, breakfast through dinner, and there's homework. And we look at I looked at each story, and we went so in depth that the stories it just comes out. And I call myself now, I was saying a writer, sometimes I say an author, but I'm a storyteller. And my memoir is all going to be story, lesson, story. And I'm enjoying it. It's actually, I don't want it to end, which is kind of a problem.
I'm sensing that. I'm sensing you're enjoying editing your stories.
I'm really enjoying it. And I was going to end it. AJ, remember, I was going to get to page 2 and do that like towards the end of 2020. And then another big chapter opened up in my life. And I called both AJ and Laura, and I said, this has to be the last chapter. And they both agreed. So now we have to kind of wait a little bit to see how that falls out. But it's really fun. And I wouldn't have done any of it without AJ, none of it.
Well, you're very sweet. I just wanted to highlight you because I feel that a light turned on for you, where you suddenly understood how to take a story that sounded like a retelling of events and turn it into an immersive experience for the reader, where they feel like they're there with you.
Yes, and specifically, I remember that we worked on a story of me being in the lake, swimming from buoy to buoy to finish my triathlon. And I had said, and then I got to the last buoy, and through your shepherding, I was able to put the reader in the lake with me, to hear what I heard, to feel what I felt, to be as tired as I was tired. And I didn't think I could do something like that. I didn't think that was possible for me.
Well, I've noticed from your edits that you have the hang of it, and so it's just to get, most people are really confused about how to write what's called a show me story. More show, less tell, more show, less tell. This is what editors write all the time, and I also write it all the time. But I can now say that to you, and you know what to do.
Exactly. All you have to do is show me, and I know exactly where I've been telling, and I can go into the show. And the way I think of it is, I think of it as writing the movie script, so that the director knows exactly what I want them to show on the movie screen.
That is a really cool way of looking at it. And you also know the note that I often give my students, which is unpack. So if any of my students they're all nodding like, yeah. To what that means is to take those special moments and give them the time that they deserve and unpack those turning point moments. And now I know if I just write that next to your something, you'll just do it.
AJ, one of the beginning stories, I'm running through the cocoa fields I'm 5 years old with my friend and their dog. And I said, and the collie and my English friend and I are running through the fields, and you write unpack. And those 3 sentences became 2 pages of the leaves and the smell and the dirt and I wouldn't have thought that was a big deal.
Yeah, it it is a big deal because we have this. I always liken it to, you're driving down the highway and you see the sign for the historical marker or the scenic overlook, and most writers are like, don't attempt, don't attempt, don't attempt, can't stop. And we have to stop and look at the scenic overlook. Our readers need us to do that. And the unpack is that really critical moment where you have an opportunity to create an emotional awareness with the reader. And most writers just keep driving. They just keep driving. So we learn to do
and
that.
AJ, the other thing that you telling us to unpack helps us to do is do the callback. Now, when I say remember the cocoa fields, or it felt like the cocoa fields.
Yeah.
The readers immediately right back in the cocoa fields.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. And if you create a visceral moment with what we call in workshop visual and emotional anchors, you can do a callback effectively where the reader can conjure it up immediately because they remember that feeling.
Thank you.
Indrani, I'm so proud of you, and I'm glad that you had the experience with the women yesterday, so that maybe that lights a fire under you and we can get your book.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being willing to stand before your art project here at Open House.
Thank you.
We have just about 20-30 minutes left, and it's really important to me that I showcase authors who have come through the whole process. And Tatiana has graciously agreed to talk with us, another super busy person. All of them are busy, and yet they're here, and I'm so grateful. I'm kind of overwhelmed by it, actually. So, oh, here you go. This is Tatiana's book. It just came out. Dream Bold, Start Smart. You can see I already have my pages flagged. It looks like some authors are running to get their copies. So Tatiana, you're through the process. You launched. You had a really successful launch. Oh, there, Mara's got the copy. Can you just share a little bit about what it was like for you to publish, go through that process, and have this community around you?
So this was a long process, although I realized that it was actually short for me. So I finished my first draft before the class was over because I wanted to submit the manuscript for AJ to have a first take. Is very valuable for me to have AJ go through and give me notes so that my manuscript was better going into the hybrid publisher. AJ has a gift, and for me, the most valuable part of the class was the one-on-ones where you, AJ, helped me develop my voice, develop my message. When I was starting this class, there was another person in the group who was an accountant, kind of like an accountant. I'm a CPA. I have a boutique tax firm in New York. And I was worried that my idea would be stolen. But having gone through this whole process, what I've realized, actually way before, I realized that it's really impossible to steal something like this, because if you write a good book, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes your own stories. And even if someone has a similar idea, they will never be able to write it in your voice. So for me, that was a transformational experience. My book journey, like I had this idea of writing a book. And there was this person, I don't remember his name, many years ago, about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. He had like a kit of, write a book in 30 days kind of thing. And that's when I kind of started thinking about it. He talked about being authority, celebrity, and expert ace when you write a book as a professional. So that idea came to me, and I initially wanted to write a book that would be a business card book. But Mike and AJ and Amber Vilhauer had an event where I had an epiphany. I was sitting at the event, and they were talking about what it takes to write a good book, what it takes to promote your book. And I thought, you know what? I don't want to just do taxes for the rest of my life. I love doing taxes, don't get me wrong. I love my work, but I don't want to just do that for the rest of my life. And I thought, you know what? I want to write a book that's life-changing. I want to write a book that will bring people to a better state, something that's a personal pet peeve, something that's a personal heartbreak that I see with every client that comes across my practice. So when I joined Top 3 Book Workshop, I joined after the event, after a couple of months after the event, but I also didn't know that there was a one-on-one every week, which was, for me, was life-changing. So I got the knowledge. I know exactly how to develop an outline for my next books and stuff like that. But for me, the one-on-ones helped me really develop my message and be clear on what it is that I'm trying to do with this book or this sentence or just my life even. So for me, it's been life-changing. And I didn't realize how much work it would take to edit the book and go through the publishing process. But and like there are things that you cannot control. And like for me, when I was recording my audiobook, after I've already signed off on the final scripts for the publisher, for the printer to print the books, I found 11 mistakes in the book. And it was a little heartbreaking for like a week, but then it is what it is. Like, if readers are gracious, they'll give me grace. If not, then, I don't care. So for me, this experience has been transformational. I would never have been where I am, launching a book in the middle of tax season, a book that looks like I fall in love with my book when I look at it every time. Not just, the cover is beautiful, but also the content. I know that this book can relate to so many people, and it's just been a transformational experience, and it really is changing. It has changed my life, but it's also changing my life every day, every month, every week, or whatever, every year, kind of continuously.
Thank you, Tatiana. I just wanted to just add that I loved seeing the community rise up and support you in the launch of your book, which is nothing warms my heart more than seeing an author share their milestones with the group and everybody rally behind them. So thank you for being willing to share that. Laura, can you put a link to Tatiana's book in the chat, please, if anybody's interested in Dream Bold, Start Smart. The last but not least, I need to introduce Linda Ugolo. Linda's been in my class since the beta as well. I honestly don't know another author who has taken such care and really sometimes we've been writing sprints and we would say I got 300 words, 200 words, 700 words. And then Linda would put in the chat, I pondered. There was a lot of pondering, and that's important time. But more than that, it was just a commitment to the reader. I feel, Linda, you totally adopted the reader first philosophy and dedicated yourself to ensuring that the book absolutely spoke to them and delivered on the promise. And I want to just highlight something that I saw you post recently. You did advanced reader process, which I teach in class, and you got some feedback that honestly brought tears to my eyes. If you wouldn't mind sharing just a little bit about some of the feedback you got.
Yes, this has been quite a curious process, because here AJ is promising us that if we follow these steps, we will write a transformational book. And so I've been doing this a long time. I think I've been writing it for 4 years. Mm-hmm. And I started with my outline with you, AJ, down in Florida at a retreat down there. And so I'm like moving along thinking, well, I don't know if I'm capable of writing a transformational book. I don't know if I'm capable of producing, stories and a process that people will want to read and recommend. So it's kind of like this long delay of learning, where you are. And so I did manage in my slowpoke way to finally put my manuscript out for advanced readers a few weeks ago, and I was blown away but reduced to tears, because I felt like, oh my God, this is my dream come true. I had one person say, well, the first feedback was, you got me from the first line. In fact, I just got another email today, like, you hooked me in on the very first line. Thank you, AJ, because you helped me with that reorganization of the material. And I remember when you mentioned it to me, AJ, I got teary. So I knew that was a good sign, and it is reaching people. And hopefully the rest of the book does too. The next piece that I got from somebody was, I've read dozens of books about public speaking, and I've never read anything like this. This is real thought leader material. And I just, when I saw that, I left my computer, I went into the kitchen, I started scrubbing the cabinets and just.
Oh, Linda, I mean, you just systematically went through the process at your own pace, and look what you were rewarded with. The last thing you said was, this is thought leadership material. That's what they said, thought leader material. A lot of people want to be thought leaders. It's a buzz term. Everybody wants it, but you can't be a thought leader if you're not saying something that blows people's minds. You can't just regurgitate the same stuff and get to be a thought leader. It just doesn't work like that. I didn't know that part, and I'm just floored. And oh my gosh, what's coming your way, Linda? I mean, the reader responses, to me, that's currency. Like, to get the reader responses of, this is me, you're talking about me. That's what we're doing here. Oh my gosh, Linda, I'm almost beside myself, and I have to try and focus again.
Well, while you're doing that, there was something I wanted to share. What was it about? Oh, yes. So this is the most transformational part of the workshop for me is, AJ's always saying reader first, last and always. And this is what I'm pondering about. What does that mean? Like AJ would say, where's the reader at this point or at this chapter? And I'm going, what? Like the shift that I had to personally go through to like really understand, how do you put yourself into that reader and reader's shoes, and their perspective was totally it was world shifting for me. And truthfully, I'm not sure if I were to do it again, if I wouldn't need the same amount of help with it. But I understand the significance now, and of course it's coming back.
Oh my gosh, to get that kind of feedback from readers, you know, you'll always get nice comments from people, but to get a comment like "this is me" is everything. It's everything. When you can do that for a reader, they will tell everyone about that book. And that is how you actually realize those author dreams beyond just having a book out. Linda, I just wonder if you could just speak real quick before we shift to questions. Oh yes. Title of the book is Delight in the Limelight, and it is not available for pre-order yet, I'm assuming, but because you're still in edit. Is there a way people can find out more about it?
Reach out to me, Linda Ugolo. You can, I don't know. You can find I'm everywhere as Linda Ugolo.
Linda's everywhere. Linda's everywhere.
I don't know. I'm not currently, you'll find me everywhere. You may not get a response if I haven't been on Instagram for months. So, but you can find me. And should I say what the book is about?
You can say who the book is for and what is your core message.
Yeah, so the book is for entrepreneurs, business professionals, experts who want to grow their leadership or expertise through being visible, but they're afraid to be seen. They're afraid to be heard. And the promise of the book is that not only can you eliminate this fear once and for all by investigating it, but you can also delight in the limelight.
So good. So good. And Linda's book takes you through the whole process. It's not just a visionary concept, it's actually doable through her process in the book. You worked so hard, so many drafts. I don't even think you keep track of how many drafts you have. Did you? No, but it was worth it. It was worth it. Linda, couldn't be more proud of you. And I'm so glad you're still in community. So we're here to support you in the process as you finish wrapping that up and publish it. I think we have, 8 or 9 authors publishing this year, which I couldn't be more excited about. I want to thank all of my alums and for showing up and showing your work at Open House today. I also we have 15 more minutes where I want to take questions. If people have questions about the publishing industry, about the workshop, any logistics before we close today. And alums, if you have to go, I understand. So I just want to be respectful. Everybody's got kids and dinner and stuff like that. Who might have a question that I might have missed? Yes, Laura.
So Rachel had a question, and I think this is a great one to highlight. And the question was, what's the primary difference between top 3 and something like Scribe Media's process?
Oh, sure. Hi, Rachel, by the way. How are you? Nice to see you.
I'm great.
Scribe, they interview you and write the book for you. And so that's a completely different process. They're also focused on how your book positions you as an entrepreneur or as a speaker or a thought leader, and not focused on how your book serves the reader and that reader experience. But it can be a really, there are a lot of speakers who are really happy with that process that they go through.
Okay, I was curious because they do have like a starts the 2-day workshop, and then you go and have, you're working with the team, but there wasn't like it seems like the one-on-one coaching, like they're not having access to a you for the consistent. It's sort of like you have group coaching calls, but doesn't sound like there's as much individual.
I can't speak to the details of their program.
It's just what I'm sharing from what I heard from them. So I was just pointing out the difference from what I see. And is it possible to like buy up, like if we would want more time with you, is there like a buy up option?
Yeah. So I also have, you mentioned, Indrani mentioned she had to leave, but developmental editing retreat, that's something that's only available to my alums. That's an additional piece if people need it or want it. It's not mandatory. You don't have to do it. And then I have a number of students who have worked with me with ongoing based on a custom. I don't really do a package because it really just depends on what people need. I don't like to charge people for things that they don't need. But yes, in fact, being one of my students is one of the only ways to get that these days, because I'm focused primarily on them rather than other people. But yes, you can get additional time for sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm happy to see you. Other questions about the workshop? Yes, Laura.
Tatiana has her hand raised.
Yes.
So
You're an alum, Tatiana.
it's not a question, but I think it maybe needs a little explanation. Like the reason that you don't take people outside into the editing retreats is because we've already done so much work. We've already done so much background work and developed our message that in the editing retreat, we're actually editing as opposed to developing our message. So it makes a lot of sense that it's kind of closed. You have to build the foundation first, I think. And a ghostwritten book is certainly an option, and I've certainly considered it too. But like just put in the chat that I had this woman on my show, and she was like, I just wanted to get the damn book out. And I'm like, how can you call? Like that tells me that you didn't write that book, because when you write your own book, you will never call it a damn book.
No, it's your baby. It's your baby for sure. Thank you for that insight, Tatiana. Class starts, the next class starts April 19th. And we do have slots available. I only accept 15 people max. And very often we don't have 15 people in class. I think we have 11 slots. I don't actually, I have to, 10. Okay, we have 10 slots. And so I'm open to talking with people about if they want to join workshop. You can set up a call with me. But are there any other questions? And you can feel free to ask me questions about publishing or anything else. You have, Noreen, I see your hand up.
Hi, AJ.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
So do you recommend that people have a specific idea about what they want to write when they're coming into the class?
I think it's more important that you know who you want to write for, or at least you have some idea. I'm often saying, who do you want to hang out with for the next few years? Because those are the people that you're going to serve, and in the process of writing the book, testing your material, and then promoting the book and engaging with readers later. So it's really thinking about who you want to serve, and then thinking about what do they need most. A lot of people come in with set ideas. Some people come in with a set idea, like Mary Rooney, who was here, and she kind of pivoted a little bit. She figured it out as she went along.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, and I may have missed this. I apologize. I had an event right before. But are people publishing in a wide range of ways? Like some people fully self-published, hybrid, traditional?
Yeah.
Curious.
Yeah, so I've in every cohort, I have people who opt to self-publish, people who go hybrid, and people who go after deals. And we go over how to make that decision and what's really at stake there, and so that people can make their individual choices based on what their priorities are. Because I can't say for you, Rachel, what would be the best option until you make decisions about your priorities. And then once we know your priorities, you can say, okay, this pass would be better because this is what's most important to you.
And then on the marketing side, I know the connections with Amber Vilhauer and stuff, like, is there any type of the synergy there because I know the marketing of the book is like potentially, to get to be a bestseller on some list or whatever is one of the more important elements of it if you really want to leverage. So I'm just curious if there's some synergy there or.
There's a lot of synergy. Amber and I came up in this business together. She's my oldest friend in the industry, and she's an alum of this workshop and the developmental retreat. We do Author Up Live together every year, which we're doing in May. My students get discounts to all that stuff, by the way. Amber, I have a little bit of a different way of organizing the marketing information, but everything is completely compatible. And like I said, she's part of our community. Yeah. Thank you for asking that question, Rachel. Gina?
Oh, AJ, I think you forgot to mention one of the most important things. When I joined your workshop last fall, I had no idea what the difference was between self-publishing. I never heard of hybrid publishing. And of course, I knew about the traditional publishing. But what I think you forgot to mention that I think is important is that it didn't matter that I did not understand, because apart from learning how to write and get my stories to come to life, I've learned a whole lot about publishing and marketing that I actually didn't even realize was going to be part of the program. So that now I understand why you would ask that question. I wouldn't even have understood the question, a few months ago. So I thought you'd forgotten to mention that, AJ, and I just wanted to put that in.
Gina. Gina's in our current cohort. Thank you so much, Gina. We did gloss over it, but it's really important to me that my students are what I consider to be armed with knowledge. And so there are a lot of broken hearts in this industry, and a lot of them came because people had the wrong information. They didn't understand realistic timelines, costs, what is actual trade distribution, and why does it matter? Why do you need this type of editor? There are so many things that people don't understand. And so they find out too late, or they never find out. And so even though it's a lot of info that I fire hose at people, I don't really change it to be more palatable. I keep doing the fire hose. And it's because what I want is for all of you to go confidently into this world of authorship, armed with knowledge, so you can make the best decisions for you, and so you can vet people, because there are a lot of people in this industry who are cutting corners, and some of them are actually real charlatans. So some people don't intend to be, some they're just cutting corners, feeding a need for the better business card. But when you don't understand what's at stake, what things cost, how long things take, and what you're going to get for something, how things work, if you don't understand that, then you can't ask the right questions, and you're going to end up disappointed, because it is, like I say, going to Mars. So you need somebody who understands what Mars is like, so that I can tell you, and you learn it all. And yes, you will say, oh my God, I don't want to know all this stuff, but then you can come back. And I would say that my authors, and maybe they can nod or not, or shake their heads if they disagree, are very empowered. They are able to make really good decisions. They can smoke out if something's not going to be right for them, just based on what they've learned, and make the choice that makes sense. And that's important to me, because why would we go to the trouble of writing this amazing book if then you're going to end up with, like I said, a broken heart and an empty bank account? Yes, Laura.
So something to keep in mind, and this is not hyperbole, by the end of workshop, it's a master's program in the craft of writing, marketing, and publishing. And most programs that are out there focus on one and not three, or they don't give you the breadth of information that this is truly soup to nuts. The germination of an idea for a book to authorship and sales and your entire life has been changed by the process. I do want to point out also that Tatiana had raised her hand.
Yes, and we have about 1 minute left, so I will stay on if people have additional questions, but I want to just honor all my students who are here and may need to leave. Again, I'm trying to be respectful of your time so much, but I will stay on if there are additional questions. I have no problem doing that. Yes, Tatiana.
I just wanted to say that even, you've had people who were writers before they came into the workshop, but I feel like, at least for me, the reader profile experience has been really transformational. And the reason was that, before going to the first AOL, you gave us that Author Up Live, you gave us the reader profile, and I was thinking about it, and I remember telling my husband that I have nothing. I thought I have these ideas for a book, but then when I was trying to think from the perspective of the profile, I was like, I have nothing. I haven't developed anything. So,
well, I mean, you did it, so it's okay. It's right here. It's, beautiful. Right here is the book, the pretty book.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
so the reader profile, has been transformational, but so has been every single session and every single class, because it it told me exactly what it is that I want. And it was different from everybody else. And it's, you know, not necessarily the same for different people have different budgets, different aspirations for the book, what they want to do with it. And for me, that was transformational.
Yeah, thank you, Tatiana. I gotta say, Casey just said in class that she just put up a link on her website to her new book for pre-order, didn't promote it at all, and got 200 pre-orders in like 3 days or something like that. So that I'm pretty impressed with. And we have a lot of students who are killing it. We have Cindy Thomason, who's in second year with her book, and she sells like clockwork 25 books a day for 2 years. Yeah, so there's people who are doing great work. Who else would like a none of that's guaranteed, by the way, y'all. I can't control how much effort you put into marketing and all of that, but I can help you get a dang good book done. Who has another question, if anyone? No other questions? So April 19th is when class starts. I like this. This was fun. Thank you, alums, for being willing to come and do this. And for all prospective students, know that we also have a fall cohort if that's a better fit for you. Well, once you're in. It's like Hotel California. You won't be out. You're just in. And the thing that's great about that, and the reason I do that, even though many business mentors of mine told me that was pretty nutty and not a good business decision, is because there is no straight line. There is no straight line. And so how would I be serving you if you were done in 14 weeks and if you couldn't finish by that time? Well, forget you. That's not actually helpful. I need these books out in the world. I need better books. I'm tired of seeing mediocre books that people settle for. What I want is books like Linda Ugolo is just described, where people are sending messages saying, oh my gosh, I just got one today from from John Briggs, who is the second person to publish or first person, I can't remember. And he just forwarded this is what I ask everybody to do. Forward me all your reader emails, please. It's like food and air for me. And this person was saying, oh my gosh, this book is changing my life. That's it. That's, what I want. Yeah, it's a sustenance for me. So that's why I keep everybody in group, and why you can still come and participate, and you'll want to, because you'll make such incredible friends and relationships here that will help you to move forward. Everybody gets on board with the launch. Everybody gets on board with marketing and helps everybody out. There's not a requirement. That's we don't make anybody do that. It's just what everybody's inspired to do. Well, thank you everybody for showing up to open house, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you to my wonderful alums. I love you. I adore you. I'll see you in sprints. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.